All praises to the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom, Shalom to my Hebrew brothers and sisters. Shabbat, Shalom. I pray that your Sabbath is being blessed and that the Spirit of the Lord is definitely upon you and you are basking in His presence, in the Word, in the Spirit. And as we prepare for the Feast of Dedication, and I know that many of our brethren and our sisters, of course, in the Hebrew Israelite family of our nation, Israel, have already begun, and just the different dates, of course. But yeah, it's a time to celebrate. This is definitely a time to celebrate. It's a time to celebrate the Feast of Dedication, to commemorate the don't want to use none of the worldly words, but the heroic acts and the victory, rather, of the patriarchs of the Maccabees, Judas Maccabees, Mattathias, and just the different patriarchs of old, if you would say, that defended the faith. Those that contended for the faith, of course, in the midst of persecution, in the midst of, desecrating the holy temple of the Lord. And that is the thing that, I learned a long time ago when serving the Lord, that we have to have a righteous indignation about anybody that's offending our Lord, that's trying to, blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, or desecrate our temple with words, or filthy foods, or just like Yahushua did with driving out the money changers. It's a variety of ways that we can defend the truth. And so when we get to the Feast of Dedication, it is definitely a feast of dedication to commemorate with joyful songs and hymns and wine and food. And, it is definitely a time to rejoice, because the temple was rededicated. It was reclaimed. When someone come and try to take your heritage and desecrate your temple and do all of these evil acts, and then you can see that the Most High Yahweh has given you the victory. He's giving you the victory over the heathens from taking what belongs to our nation. That is something to celebrate. And that's why we get the Feast of Dedication. And the menorah, of course, which have always been the lampstand in the holies, in the holy place. So we have a lot to celebrate. And we want to look, in the Apocrypha, in 1st Maccabees and 2nd Maccabees. But we won't be able to cover it all. I can just tell you that right now, because it's a very extensive reading of 1st Maccabees and 2nd Maccabees. And we may have to do a part 2 if the Lord allow. But yeah, the Maccabees, of course, just to get a little bit of biblical history of them, they were the Levites. They are of the Levitical priesthood. And so, when you're dealing with the Levitical priesthood, they definitely had a righteous indignation about the holy things of the Lord, about the holy oracles, the holy utensils, the holy everything about the Most High. Why? Because they had to be the one to bear the Ark of the Covenant, where the cherubim rest upon the Ark of the Covenant and every holy thing about it. So they knew how serious it was to really just be committed and serve the Most High in the spirit of truth without defilement. So I want to begin let's see, we're going to start in a good place. And thank you all for tuning in, of course. And now, because it's an extensive study, of course, and we're going to be looking at the Apocrypha, we're going to start in a place where we can see the battle, because this is what the Feast of Dedication was all about. Conquering the battle, gaining victory of the battle. The battle, you see? They won the battle. They won the victory and drove out the heathens that were trying to take over the temple. You know, less more take over the Most High's people that are serving him in spirit and in truth. And they influence in our nation to do wrong, to do evil. So we understand about the battles that our nation, Hebrew Israelites, and the Maccabees, as we know them here in scriptures, had to fight in order to preserve our heritage, in order to preserve what belongs to Israel, to preserve our identity. That is what our Hebrew brethren out there, and, you know, many of us in our right calling, whatever the Most High tells us to do, we're continuing to preserve our heritage, our Hebrew heritage. Because if we don't fight and contend for the faith in some kind of way, you know, the Most High told us to contend for the faith. Fight for it. Fight for our faith. You're not just going to let people come and take over our faith forever. This is the time, he said, anyway, that the tents of Judah will be rising first. Yeah, we have dominion in the earth. He's given that to us. So just like we're going to read about the Maccabees, Judas Maccabees and Mattathias and all of the other powerful, you don't say heroic because that's, you know where that come from. But the powerful men of the Lord in Israel, we're going to read about it. We need to understand what they did to preserve this word, to preserve these holy scriptures, to preserve the Spirit of the Lord dwelling at that time in the temple where the Ark of the Covenant was placed. Because surely the Most High gave Moses the instructions to construct the tabernacle, the holies of holies. He gave him that. So we want to start in First Maccabees. And I think a good place to start, I would say, let's just start at the first verse so we can get an understanding of pretty much some of the people in here. And then we'll skip over to First Maccabees chapter 2. But First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1 says, "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece." So I want everybody to also take note that our nation, of course, we became part of Greece. That's why people don't understand it, but our nation, of course, have the lineage of the Greeks, because a lot of times that's what we would disperse. So we came out of different bondage and captivity, and just like we here in America, we're called Americans, but we're Israel. So it's the same thing. So let's look at verse 2. "And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up." Okay, we're talking about this king, Alexander. Okay, so let's see here. It says, verse 4, "And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him." Okay, that means he made them give him tribute, pay taxes, and give gifts and so forth. Verse 5, "After these things he fell sick." So Alexander fell sick. Okay, "and perceived that he should die." Right. "Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth." Okay, people he knew, those his servants, "and parted his kingdom among them." Okay, while he was yet while he was yet alive. Okay. So, it's just like a will or whatever. Person gets sick and they know they're not going to be here. They call their family or those that are around them to distribute or to part whatever, estate that they have. So that is what he done. So Alexander reigned 12 years, then died. Verse 8. And his servants bear rule, every one in his place. Okay, the ones that he distributed the royal kingdom to, they bear rule in every place. After his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evil were multiplied in the earth. Okay, that brings back that precept, the scripture that says, when a wicked ruler is in charge, of course, and I'm using some layman terms, the people mourn, but when a righteous man is in rulership, the people rejoice. So during this time, evil was multiplied. So the people were mourning. So verse 10 says, and there came out of them a wicked root. So out of Alexandria came out of Alexandria a wicked root. Who was this wicked root? Antiochus. Antiochus, surname Epiphanes. Okay, so he's definitely a wicked root. Learned about him a long time ago. Okay, so he was what? Son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 117th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Let's read that part again. Excuse me for the interruption. Let's read that part again. Let's read verse 10 again, matter of fact. And there came out of them a wicked root, and Antiochus, surname Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So we'll keep that in mind now, because that's where many of our nation was scattered into Greece. So that's going to tell why some of our nation became Greeks. Okay, verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men. Okay, wicked men from our nation. We know all Israel is not Israel. Scripture already said that. Who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us. Pretty much what we have today in America. Some of our nation, they want to be a part of the big flow. They want to be a part of where the money is. They want to be a part of where the crowd is. Some of them want to coon out. So we have these different things going on. So that's why it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So we're dealing with the heathen here. The heathens that are in Israel. The heathens that are in Israel. Let's read verse 11 again. In those days went out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen. Okay? So, this is how Israel become an heathen. When you deal with the heathen, you become a heathen. If you deal with the Gentiles, this is how you become, the Gentiles that are of the wicked nations. It says that are about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this is saying like, since we, left all of the worldly stuff in America or what other heathen nation, we have had nothing but misery because, first of all, we can't hardly pay our bills. Nobody won't give us the loan, or we can't get contracts, or, just things just going sour because the world or this wicked place have all of the goods. So this is basically like Israel, the wicked men in Israel saying, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. See? They want to go back and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about them. They want to go back and make all of these covenants. Verse 12 says, so this device pleased them well. This wicked device that they plotted against our own nation, or they may determine their own decisions to go back and be with the heathens, it pleased them well. So, this type of behavior is prevalent among Hebrew Israelites. A lot of people want to leave the faith and go back in the world and be a part of the world, and just feel like the world has something to offer them more than what our own nation and heritage can offer them. Because the flesh is something. You have the pride of life, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life, the lust of the eye. All of those things appease to men in the world. And people don't know about this suffering way, as far as denying yourself, taking up your cross and following after Christ. They don't want to be a part of that. They feel like the easy way. They don't want to wait on the blessings of the Lord that maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. Some people rather be a cooner, as you say, and be among the heathens to just collaborate and, get all of their goods. So verse 14, we in 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 14 says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathens. Now they're doing something very foul here, okay? Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen. So that means it's just like in Jerusalem, or, around the sanctuary. Now they're starting to incorporate the heathen ways in Jerusalem. Verse 15 said, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. So they basically just turned their backs on the Lord. This is what you call in the Apocrypha here, the wicked men are backsliders. Okay. Now this is leading up to, that's going to show us why we have to take the Feast of Dedication very serious, because it's going to show you as we read, and we may have to just read it all and have a part 1. This is part 1. We're going to have to do a part 2, because as we read in depth, verse by verse, we can really feel. We're going to really feel what it means to be a dedicated Hebrew Israelite, and feel the heritage running through your blood. You see, we're gonna really feel that. Why? Because we need to understand how important our heritage is to our lives and to our whole nation, to our families, to the Most High as a people. It's not just some random thing. We just want to hook up with a crowd and the new fad, the clique, I heard something on the news the other day that, some Christian pastor was saying that Hebrew Israelites on the rise. Okay, well, good, you saying that, but don't make it feel like, this is a trend. Hebrew Israelites on the rise is not a trend. It's a deep, rich heritage through the bloodline. And as we read through these scriptures, we're going to see that the patriarchs defended the faith. They contended and defended the faith. So it says here, let's go to verse. We're still in 1 Maccabees, verse 15. 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 15. This is what the wicked men of Israel did. They made themselves uncircumcised. See? Uncircumcised. Anything holy, that they made themselves unholy. They didn't want nothing to do with Israel anymore. I've seen some people do that. And forsook the holy covenant. How are you going to forsake the holy covenant? Wickedness. Then you have people that they forsook the holy covenant. They made themselves uncircumcised. Now they want to talk about it and remember when they was and post when they used to be Hebrew Israelite. How are you going to denounce your own heritage? How are you going to denounce how you were born and the family you were born into? It's one thing if the Most High separates you, but how you going to denounce your bloodline as far as saying I'm not Israel? Okay, well you sure you're not you're not an Ammonite or Edomite, or you're not any of these other heathen nations. But this is what they did. This is what they did. They made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. Like anything you want us to do. You got people go to the extreme with the heathen. That's what they want to do. Verse 16 says, now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, we say Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion over two realms. Okay. Verse 17, wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Okay, he just took over somebody's land there in Egypt. Verse 19, thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt and took the spoils thereof. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. Okay, now you're playing with fire. You're coming up against Israel, the Most High's chosen people. Verse 21, and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof. Okay, see, now we are seeing now where the Feast of Dedication is coming into play, because first of all, he has really gone in to desecrate the holy place of the Most High, right? To take away what? The golden altar, the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof. This should let us know, as we see today, and we're going to go to verse 22 because he took more things, that people don't care about our Hebrew heritage. They don't care about the holy things of the Lord. They don't care about the holy woman of the Lord, the holy man of the Lord. When the Most High is giving space for wicked to do something, a lot of times the Most High hardens their heart to do it. Because he's establishing something. It's like a stage play. He gonna let this play out, because in the end, he gonna show his glory. And that's what the Feast of Dedication is all about. Don't you think the God in heaven is not watching and choosing evil men to do what they do so that he can show them who he really is, show his power to Israel? That's how Israel become to know our God, Yahweh. We become to know our God, Yahweh, because of the mighty acts that the Most High shows us in Scripture and in our personal lives, how he will move for us, how he will defeat the enemy for us. He does that for us. Okay, so we see that Antiochus, of course, he conquered Egypt and did all away with them and all of that. And then he came in verse 22 and entered proudly into the sanctuary of the Most High and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof. Verse 22, and the table of showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crowns and the golden ornament that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. Can you imagine this? This is the same sanctuary, holy place, holies of holies that the Most High gave Moses the instructions for the Levitical priesthood to construct, to build. And here we have this evil ruler that is doing despite to the spirit of the Most High and his people and his temple. He ripped it off, took it all off. So we look at verse 23. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels, also took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoke very proudly. Wow, this dude is, I don't have words. This sounds familiar. This same spirit, there isn't no new spirits. This same spirit, that's how we got here to America. That's how our nation, the Most High, used these fierce, evil nations of people to do certain things. And then in the end, he destroys them. We're gonna read about it. They have a bitter end. It's nothing good. So we get to verse 25. Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel. Yeah, because what did it say? He made a great massacre. Our nation has been in 7 captivities. 7 captivities throughout history. And there has been a great massacre of our people. Martyrs from dying, shed their innocent blood at the hands of evil and wicked men. But the Most High have purpose for everything that he allows. And we're going to read about why we are commemorating the Feast of Dedication even right now. Because as you can read, you can feel the atrocities that's happening in the sanctuary of the Lord, in the temple of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? He took this evil ruler, Antiochus, just desecrated the temple. So verse 25, First Maccabees, still there. Chapter 1, verse 25 says, Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned, the leaders mourned. The virgins and young men were made feeble, like they were weak. Can you imagine some of these people were their families? And the beauty of women was changed. That's just like they just put on sackcloth and ashes. Their face was frowned in sadness. Every bridegroom took up lamentation. The men were crying. And she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. So, there goes a joyful wedding. You hear about this bad massacre in your community, among your people, and you waiting in the marriage chamber to get married, and somebody come tell you the news. That's a sad day. It says in verse 28, the land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all of the house of Jacob was covered with confusion, because some evil ruler came in and desecrated their holy sanctuary. See, in these days, the holy sanctuary meant a lot, because it was a place where people can gather together. See, fellowship was very important, is very important among Israel. Fellowship is very important. That's why the Most High says, forsake not the assemblies of yourselves. Okay? As some have already begun. We're not supposed to forsake the assembly of ourselves. So verse 29 says, and after 2 years fully expire, the king sent his chief collectors of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceably words unto them. But all was deceit. See, that's why the Bible says in Psalms 83, verse 1 through 5, the word smoother than butter, wars in the heart, tongues is all of this, and there's drawn swords. It's all full of deceit. When people want you to collaborate with them in the world, you know what I'm saying? And they come in with an evil heart. They come in with an evil heart to finish doing you in. And it calls for wisdom, because, see, when other nations don't have a pure heart, I'm not saying the Most High can't use 1 or 2 of them. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when other nations and heathens and even people in our nation have an evil heart, they're not coming with nothing righteous and good. It's all being conjured up evil, how to take you down, how to make you sweat, how to make you fear, how to make you give up, how to make you sad, how to shame your life, how to do all these evil things to you. Because what good can come out of evil? Evil is what evil does. So when you see a wicked somebody coming, they just coming with wickedness. It's nothing. You don't have to hope they do you good. How are you going to hope they do you good when they don't have nothing but evil in them? It takes the Most High to change somebody's heart. As the scripture said, the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord. He turns it whatsoever way he will. You can't expect nothing good from an evil king. And look what he said. Look what it said again. And he spake peaceable words unto them. See? Peaceable words. But all was deceit. It's telling us right here. That's why the Apocrypha and all of the holy books and writings that the Most High left us is for us to understand how we have to relate and how we have to communicate in this land of our captivities with our enemies. Because it's letting you know they're not coming with anything good. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. Again, you see, verse 31. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side, on every side. This lets you know you can feel how the enemies are and how they really hate us, okay? But the women and children took they captives and possessed the cattle. Yeah. Same thing we hear about the Atlantic, slave trade. Verse 33. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with a mighty tower, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation. They put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They just took the whole city, just like what they did to America, for my ancestors, coming with weapons and speaking peacefully and giving out smallpox blankets and, acting like you feeding them, and then you just come in and ravish them. And they put therein sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid up there. And so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and evil adversaries to Israel. So it's like they took over their land. It's just like Jerusalem, with Islam building the mount there, it's Israel, but you got a Muslim mount on top, whatever you call that up there. You got that. The mosque in Israel. You see, the dome, rather, in the Holy Land, but a wicked nation took over and put something that reminds them of what they stand for, or they came and tried to, overtake it. Verse 37, thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. So now you see why our ancestors, Judas Maccabees, Mattathias, and all the others now you see why we celebrate the Feast of Dedication. We have to commemorate the victory that the Most High gave us, and we haven't even got to that part yet, against these heathens. So it says here, verse 37 again, thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. Verse 38, inasmuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers and became strange to those that were born in her. And her own children left her. Yeah. See, that's why we have the heathens, it's probably, really how the people that's over there now, continue to merge over there, emerge over there from somewhere, the Ashkenazis, and different other nations. Because our nation was fleeing from here to there, everywhere, even in 70 AD, we were fleeing from there and going other places. When them heathens start trying to push their way through and force their way through, our nation be like, y'all, hey, forget this. That's basically what happened here. Verse 39. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning. her sabbath into reproach, her honor into contempt. It's talking about the sanctuary, the holy place of the Lord, when the heathens came in and did what they did. This happened also with the Babylonian captivity. This happened also with the Persians' captivity. And I'm just talking surface here. There are people in our nation can break this stuff way down, honey. They'll get down to, more in depth of the biblical history of the Maccabees and of the other heathen nations, by name. By name. From the scriptures. I think it's in of course in Genesis, starting from Genesis. How these heathens emerged to take over the temple like this. You see, this is what sin does to our nation if we're not doing right. It started with the wicked men, collaborating and saying we're going to go back with the heathens. We're going to be a part of them. Because ever since we left, we have had nothing but misery. Every time our nation go into sin, this is what happens. So let's keep reading. So it's talking about the reproach and the Sabbath into reproach. Let's look at verse 39 again. Her sanctuary was laid waste. Talk about Jerusalem. Israel is her. Like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning. Her Sabbath into reproach. Her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. I mean, this is what happened when, really bad atrocities happened to Israel. It's like they said in Psalms, how can we sing in a strange land? How can we hung our harps? How can we sing when we so broken? That people have came in and destroy our nation. Verse 40 says, as had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Verse 41, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. See, that's what America wanted us to be. One people. One big melting pot. Stand up, put your hands over your heart, turn to the flag. You go to any functions, entertainment, mainly in the sports arena. They want you to stand up, put your hands on your heart, turn to the flag. Come on now, that's like brainwash. You're wanting to brainwash people to do the same things to what? Same thing here. Become one. So you want to take away people, God, that they don't worship or pay homage to no idol, no flag, no statues, no person. We only pay homage and reverence and give honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh God in heaven. The only true living God, Yahweh. Okay? So when you start getting people to think that they have to do this, okay, so now you have just brainwash people into believing that that's what they're supposed to do. So if somebody don't do it, you got all these people looking strange at them like, why she ain't standing? Why he ain't standing? You see that? Did you see Miss So-and-so? Did you see Mr. So-and-so? They didn't stand for the flag. They didn't put their hand over their heart. Did you see that? How about run that by so-and-so and let them know that this family or this person right here, they didn't pay homage to the flag or the statue. See? And I'm just using that as an example, of course, which is a reality. In reality, it's a reality, which is the same thing that's happened here with the King Antiochus wanted to make everybody. He wrote to his people. He wrote to the whole kingdom that all should be one. This is mind control. This is communism. This is what we're reading here. Who's going to give you that much power over somebody's life? Many of our ancestors had rather died than to give anybody that kind of power over their life. Many of our ancestors rather had died and become a martyr rather to disgrace the holy name of the Lord or profane the Sabbath. You see? So it says here, everyone should leave his laws, and all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profane the Sabbath. These are the heathens, the heathen coons in our nation that don't care or love the Most High. You see? They did this thing. They did evil. Okay? For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Mm-hmm. So there's something about our nation that fears that if they don't do it, something bad is going to happen to them. I don't really know, but it says here, verse 43, yea, also of the Israelites consented to his religion. Like, when you consent to something, that means somebody didn't pressure you. You just did it anyway. You wanted to do it. They consented to his religion. Okay? Because verse 42 is what it says. This was a decree that everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathens agreed according to the commandment of the king. Mm-hmm. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. They profane the Sabbath. You see that? For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Same thing in America. Verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings. We're still in 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 45 now. And forbid burnt offerings, and sacrifice drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. See? This is how they're going to know that you are abiding by their lawless deeds. If you forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. That's just like the days, the holy day, the Shabbat. You know what I'm saying? And the high holy days. So they're going to make sure that, let's see if they keeping it. I don't smell no food. I don't smell no food. So it seems like they keeping the Sabbath. Go over there and make sure they're not keeping the Sabbath. That's technically what it is here. Verse 46 says, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people. See, they want, that's how other nations are. They're real jealous of us. They want to take you down. You don't have to have nothing for the heathens to want to take you down. It's just who you are. It's just who you are. You don't have to have nothing. Just be yourself, and they won't like you. Just be yourself. Just stand up for truth, and they won't like you. You don't have to have material things. Israel didn't have anything, and they still was being, persecuted by the heathens. It is just who we are. The power of Yahweh that's inside of us to be his holy special people that he's chosen and called unto himself. The elect. We are the elect. We are the elect. It's not our skin color that they hate. They uses that. Okay? That's something what they make mockery of. But it's who we are. It's the power that's within. They hate the power that's within. They want to be like you. They want to be like us. They don't want to accept themselves to be of a lower degree, as the scripture says, less than nothing. I didn't write the Apocrypha in the Bible that says that. The Most High says it. Deuteronomy 7:6, that he has placed us above all nation upon the face of the earth, upon all people upon the face of the earth, that he's chosen us and made us better. Why? It doesn't come now without a charge. We have a charge of keeping the God to glorify. He wants us to represent him in holiness and in righteousness, in steadfastness, and in being righteous, so that the eyes of the heathens can say, those are the Lord's people. Those are the Lord's people. There has to be a distinction between holy and unholy. We got to show forth his praise, his glorious, mighty praise in the earth. So we can't do the same things that the heathen do. We can't go down to Egypt to fix our problems. We can't go down to Egypt to do the same things that the heathens are doing. We got to be different. We got to fight the good fight of faith to be different. Because the verse 46, they pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. They want to pollute us. That's why you got liquor stores on every corner in our nation. That's why when you walk into a convenience store in our nation, in our community of our nation, you got the beer container right at the door. The blunt container right at the door. The reefer papers right at the door. The tops, rather. You got everything, the pipes right at the door. Behind you. When you pay for your food at the counter of the gas stations in our nation, you see all of everything, the elements of the world looking right at you. You staring right at them. It's designed that way to keep our nation in bondage, to pollute us from being the holy people that the Most High has called us to be. And they know that. And verse 47 says, they set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. This is what they did to the holy place of the Lord, the sanctuary of the Lord. They meant to take us down. They wanted to take us down. They didn't want us to be a people of the Lord. They wanted to take us down, all the way down. They wanted to make us sure we was at the bottom. And at some point, again, in different part and dispensations of our nation, the Most High allowed it because of sin and transgression. But we're going to see in the Apocrypha that the Most High gave the children of Israel the victory over this. And we had strong men that stood up and strong women. We read about Judith in the scriptures of the Apocrypha that stood up for our nation. But in Maccabees, we're going to see how strong men, holy, righteous men, didn't compromise and battle against these heathens. So it says in verse 48 that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. Profanation. That means just profane. Leave the kids uncircumcised with what? Their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness. That's talking about all type of sin, lasciviousness, homosexuality, lesbianism, uncleanness, just all kind of debauchery, drunkenness, and everything you can imagine, that these heathens don't have no type of righteous conscience to do anything good. They wanted to do that to our children, to leave our children uncircumcised, without a covenant, and make their souls abominable. Verse 49, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. That's how we lost our heritage. This is how we lost our heritage. We lost our heritage. And I just, wow, this is amazing. I wish my husband was on the broadcast with me today, because he will hone in on this. He will hone in on this. And we was recently talking about this, of course, on a previous broadcast. But this is how we lost our heritage. That's how we got to America and our families, sisters and sisteries, our grandmother, great-grandmother. My grandmother on my mother's side was a very holy woman. I'm talking about, keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's all I ever seen her to do. Never seen her drink, never seen her smoke, never seen her wear pants. She knew something about these holy laws in our heritage. She knew something. Then you get, on my father's side, that was a whole nother story with my grandmother. Whole nother story. Okay? I don't even think I want to even mention it on this broadcast. You have to catch another broadcast where I think I did mention it. But a whole nother story. Okay? Sweet lady. Never bother anyone. Raise her children. Raise all her children. Homebody woman. but she was of the world, dressed like the world, you know, and coming into that feminism movement of the independence of what women could do. She was in that movement. Okay. My grandmother, on the other hand, was just as what Hebrew Israelites on my mother's side of keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. I don't remember my grandmother on my father's side going to church. So, I just mentioned it. Yeah, she sold booze, as you call it back then, liquor, booze. She wore pants. I never seen her go to church. So, but she was always a woman that raised her children. Children never got in any trouble or anything. Raised her children good because she was married all those years. Both of my grandmothers was married like 50 years or whatever. And, stayed with their husbands to death did them part. At least for the most part, my grandmother on my father's side did. My grandmother on my mother's side, I think, still was married like 40, 50 years until I think, they, because of distance or whatever, working, that separated them. That became the change, but had 13 children and stayed married for 50-some years or more. But there still was a difference. You could see the difference. Because that's what society, when you start getting involved with these heathen, want us to get away. I'm so glad that I know I'm Hebrew Israelite. I'm so glad to get back to my Hebrew heritage. Because America just didn't feel right. As being a Christian in Christianity, just something was missing. Something that just didn't feel right. And we're gonna stop at verse 64, and we're gonna pick up. We'll see how far we can go. We're going to see how far we can go. But let's keep reading. To the end that they might forget the law and change all of the ordinances. We're in verse 49 now. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 49. They wanted us to forget the law of the Most High. You take anybody out of their culture and you put them in another culture, you will wipe their culture out of them. You will wipe their heritage of knowing who they are out of them, especially if they're spiritual, the laws and the covenants of their God. Okay? Christianity made us to believe there was so much grace to do all of these things. Christianity made us to believe it was okay to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. We had no form of heritage of our God. We had nothing to fight for. We didn't know we had something to fight for. We did not know. We literally did not know we had something to fight for. Okay? And that is what we're going to see, what the Feast of Dedication is all about. Our ancestors had something to fight for, like enough is enough. Just like our Hebrew brothers on the street, the men in our lives, our husbands, our brothers and uncles and stuff, they're fighting for the righteous cause. So verse 49 said, to the end that they might forget the law and change the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandments of the king, he said he should die. See, this is how much people want to take our heritage away. If they see us keeping the commandments, see us lifting up our nation, see our brethren out there on the corners, they just want to put us to death because we're doing the right thing. We're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. We're fighting the good fight of faith. We're laying hold to eternal life. It says, in the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto him, to wit, every one that forsook the law, so they committed evils in the land. God forbid. Look what's happening here. Our nation is just gathering with the heathens. Verse 53. And drove the Israelites into secret places. And drove the Israelites into secret places. That's where we at now. Even whosoever they could flee for succour. You see that? Verse 15. So like at verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month of Casleu, in the 140 and 50 year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar and built it idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. I mean, they just took it over, just like America did with our Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters of Gad and Reuben, so-called Native Americans. Just took over, came here and act like this their land. And look what they did. What did they do? They set up idols and built it idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. Verse 55, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. This is how disgusting our heritage was to other people, other heathens. They didn't want us to be the special people of the Most High, Yahweh. That's why you have people attacking our people now on social media and on the news. I was watching one news about, a few weeks ago, which I rarely do, but I chime in because, things are blowing up. And one of the news anchors out there talking to someone about the Hebrew Israelite brothers that's coming and supporting our nation out there. And she's like, let me turn my backs to the camera now. We don't want to give these people any more attention than they have already gotten. Like, I'm like, who are you? You don't know who you're dealing with. You can't stop what the Most High is doing. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be stopped. So it says here, and when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they had found, they burnt them with fire. Verse 57. And whosoever was found with any of the books, the books of the testament, or any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. I mean, like if you be found with the Bible or the Apocrypha, that's how we lost our heritage. And it went on and on and on how we lost our heritage. Okay? It says, Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month to as many. Let's read that part again. Verse 58. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelite every month to as many as were found in the cities. So they made sure they didn't have an Apocrypha. They made sure they didn't have the Holy Scriptures. They made sure that they didn't have no holy texts. You see this? Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the altar, which was upon the altar of Yahweh. At which time, according to the commandments, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. I mean, they really wanted to wipe our heritage out. You got to know we are some special people to the Most High for people to have always, throughout 7 captivities, and probably more, persecute us and try to take us down. They're trying to get rid of the power. And after 400 or 500 years or more, we ain't even counting these years right here with what we reading. This make up like 1,000 or 2,000 years or more, or 3,000 years from the time of the Maccabees or more. I don't really know. It's talking about doing the silent years, of course. The Bible talk about that intermittent time, the intertestamental time from Malachi to Matthews up in there. So that's like 3,000 years ago that we're talking about here, or more in that era. People have always tried to take us down, but we still won't die. We keep multiplying. Because that's the power of the Most High. Because he has a plan for the Hebrew Israelites. He has a plan for the so-called black people. For the 12 tribes of Israel, Levi, Benjamin, Reuben, Gad, Dan, Naphtali, Asher, Simeon. You see? All of the 12 tribes. Judah. All of us. Okay? And you keep on naming them. They all in there. Let's get on back to scriptures. Verse 61 says, and they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. You're not going to tell me these are some evil people. And it not only happened during these scriptures right here, and it happened when they were feeding our children to alligators. And they got all their ideas probably from the Apocrypha. Because see, evil is just perpetuating. There's no new idea. Nothing is new under the sun to the Most High. Nothing is new to the Most High under the sun. So they did the same thing to our babies that they did, of course, in these scriptures. Verse 62 says, how about many in Israel will fully resolve and confirm in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. That's like you may do all of the atrocities, but you're not going to make me defile my God. You're not going to make me defile my temple. You're not going to make me curse my God. Just like Job said, his wife told him to curse God and die. He said, you sound like a foolish woman. You don't give up your faith, Salakia, your faith for anyone, anything, anybody, for nothing. In the face of death, you hold on. We have to hold on to our faith. That's all we got. That's all we have. We don't have anything else. If anything that you resolve in yourself, to keep the commandments, the laws and statutes of the Most High, and you resolve in yourself that you will see him. And the only way you're going to see him if you're faithful to him. And you haven't given up yourself to idols. You haven't given up yourselves to serve the heathens, to obey the heathens, to defile yourself with the heathens' rituals and with the heathens' laws and demands. That's how we get to see the Most High. That's how he said that's why you got to hold out and be saved in the end. Because he got to see who's faithful. He got to know if you're faithful. He got to know if you're going to throw in the towel because these heathen are persecuting you. What you going to do? Are you going to trust the Most High? Are you going to give in? Or are you going to start teaching things that's not true? Verse 63 says, wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. Talking about our ancestors. So then they died. Talking about our ancestors. So then they died. Talking about our ancestors that refuse to give up their faith in the Most High Yahweh and defile themselves with the uncleanness of the heathens. It says, and there was great wrath upon Israel. That's why we see it today. We see it today. Great wrath upon Israel. Now we go to chapter 2. Let's see how far we can get here in chapter 2. Chapter 2 is a little bit extensive as well. It says, in those days rose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jehoram, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. Okay. Verse 2. And he had 5 sons. Jonan, called Cadiz, Simeon called Tassi, or Tassias, Judas, who was called Maccabees, Eleazar called Avarin, and Jonathan, whose sure name was Aphias. Okay. Verse 6, and when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory. So, he is really feeling it here. He's really feeling it. Mattathias is really feeling it. He's feeling the pain and the atrocities of our nation. It's making him feel some kind of way, okay? So he says in verse 9, her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? That's just like America. We here in America and all these other heathens come plant themselves, their business in America, Moabites, of course, and the Ammonites and, all these other heathen nations, they come and take part in Israel, taking our money and causing us to be in poverty and causing us, atrocities of, shooting and gunning down our people through the police department and just doing all type of evil against us, establishing their business in our communities, nail salon, beauty salons, liquor stores, you name it, having part in us, had gotten of our spoils. Verse 10, what nation have not had part in her kingdom and gotten her spoils? Verse 11, all of her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she is become a bond slave. That's how we feel, Hebrew Israelites, in this evil, wicked nation. Bond slave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles has profaned it. See, this is when we talk about Gentiles right here. You see. And these are the heathen Gentiles that turned their back on the Most High, Yahweh, and cleaved it to the heathen, the Gentile heathens. See, the Gentiles is a derivative of heathens that's really are heathens. You got the Gentiles in our nation too, from that collaborated and joined it with the heathens of the Gentiles of the heathens. You get it. Verse 13 says, to what end thereof, or therefore, shall we live any longer? Like, what's the use of us living any longer and people doing all this stuff to us? To tolerate this stuff, basically. Verse 14, then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourn very sore. Now, these were men of the Lord, like, Lord, have mercy. Look what they doing to us. Look what they doing to us. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt. See? In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city of Modin to make them sacrifice. Okay, now they want to come into the city of Modin, like, you think you get ready to really cause us to do what these other people did in our nation and turn our back on the Most High. But we get ready to see about that. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. Okay? Then answered the king's officer and said to Mattathias on this wise, thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Yeah. You know my sons, you know my family, basically. Verse 18, now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment like as all the heathen have done. Yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. Okay? So shall thou and thy house be numbered with the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver, gold, and many rewards. So this is basically like a heathen coming and saying, do it like we want, and we'll give you a seat at the White House. We're going to give you an invitation to come meet the president. We're going to give you what you need. We're going to put some money in your bank. You just come and do like we do, and just denounce your nation and your laws, and don't keep no Sabbath holy days, and just do all of that like we want you to. And we're going to be your friend, and you'll be our friend. That's basically what they wanted Mattathias to do, and they want to give him many rewards. But let's go on and see what Mattathias say about that. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandment. Verse 20, yet would I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. Of our fathers. You see? So somebody making a stance. See, somebody have to take a stance in the nation of Israel to say we're not going to do what the heathens do. Verse 21, God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. God forbid, Mattathias said, we will not hearken to the king's word to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. We're not going to do it on the right hand or the left. We don't care what you say. We're not going to do nothing you say. Verse 23, now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment, okay? Which thing, when Mattathias saw it, he was inflamed with zeal. Okay, so a Jew, one of our people, coming to sacrifice on the altar in front of Mattathias. It wasn't a good sacrifice either. He's doing what the evil king tell him to do. And his reins trembled. See? Verse 24. Let's read verse 24 again. First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 24. Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal. Like something rose up in him, like in a righteous indignation with fire and zeal. For this man, this Jew of our nation, coming to disrespect the holy altar. And his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. I mean, you ever see somebody get real mad, they can't hold it back? That's how mad Mattathias was, that this Jew of our nation, a coon, getting ready to profane the holy altar of the Lord. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. He killed him right instantly, dead upon the altar. You see, he put him to death for disrespecting our Lord, for disrespecting our nation. You see, this is somebody that have a zeal for the Most High, Yahweh. Also, the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time. And the altar he pulled down. So he even killed the man that brought him there to do it. I mean, these are men that love the Lord. These are the Most High's champions, commissioners. This is what our nation is going to be about when the Most High finishes doing what he's doing in our nation today. We getting these men, and in our nation, they're still here. Verse 26, thus dealt he zealously for the law of Yahweh, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, the son of Salem. Yeah, Phinehas did this when people were profaning the Most High's altar and doing some things. That's in the scriptures too. Yeah. See what we have. Find that scripture, of course. Phinehas did the same thing. It's all throughout our nation. They did the same thing when people was disrespecting the spirit of the Lord in any kind of way. Let's keep going. We'll get that on another day. Verse 27. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous, Salakia, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Like they just picked up and left with the ones that wanted to serve the Lord and was zealous of the Lord, had a zeal to serve the Lord in righteousness. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they, their children, and their wives, and their cattle, because the affliction increased sore upon them. Yeah, because after Mattathias got mad when this evil Israelite wanted to sacrifice evil upon the altar, he had to slay him and the other man that brought him there. Yeah, then the evil was really pressed upon them then. See, so now we're getting to why the Feast of the Dedication is so important, because it's a sacrifice that Mattathias and Judas Maccabees, his son, that we're going to get into it. We don't do it on this broadcast, that they were able to, rededicate the temple of the Lord to be purified from the evil that people does. Now we are the temple of the Lord now. He put his word, his laws, and statutes in our heart, his sanctuary. We are his beautiful sanctuary now. So we don't need to be defiling ourselves with nothing of the heathens. So both they, their children, and their wives, and their cattle, because afflictions increased so upon them. Now, when it was told the king's servant and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David that certain men who had broken the king's commandments were gone down to the secret places in the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. Okay? So they want to catch up with them to try to, take vengeance on them for what happened of them not even obeying this evil king decree. So verse 33, and they said unto them, let that which you have done thereunto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and you shall live. Okay, here's another lie. But they said, here's Mattathias. Look what Mattathias, the Israelites, the righteous Israelites, and the people said. We will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandments to profane the Sabbath day. See, this is what the power we have as Israelites, Hebrew Israelites, the Jews of the Bible. We already know and got the connection of the Spirit, that we are not going to do anything anybody tell us to do that's unrighteous against the commandments of our God. See, other men and people that's in rulership want to be God, little g, lowercase g, but we got to obey our God, Yahweh. You see, we're not standing to pay homage to a flag. I don't care if my mother doing it, my father doing it, my brother doing it, my sister doing it, my children. I don't care. Everybody got their own convictions. I'm not doing it. So that's basically what the children of Israel right here with Mattathias said. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. Okay? So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Oh, you know what that means. How about they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid. Okay? Verse 37. But said, let us die. Let us die all in our innocency. They want to die in innocency. I don't know why my tongue get twisted every time. Let us die, they said, in innocency. When you innocent, innocency. They want to die being blameless. Basically, that's what it's saying. Blameless, innocent. They want to die in their innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. Yeah. Let the Most High be the judge. He's the God of heaven and earth. He's the one that's going to testify that they put them to death wrongfully, he says. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. More shedding innocent blood trying to get them to do what they want them to do. You see, this is the vehement anger and evil of the heathens that despise our God and despise how we want to serve our God. Then they despise our heritage, but they can't make us denounce our God and our heritage. Verse 40 says, and one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathens, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. Verse 41. And at that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against them. Neither will we die as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. So it's like, okay, you know what? Okay, Most High gave them permission, just like it did in the book of Esther. Every man fight for their lives. The scepter has been held out. Fight for your lives. They come up on you, whatever you got to do, you take them out. This is what the Most High has given them the spirit to do. They come up on you, you kill them. You fight. You're not going to be like your other brethren that just stood there and let them take their lives. And I'm sure they got a reward in heaven, whether they fought or not. You know, they were martyrs. They laid down their lives just like Yahushua did. So there's a blessing in that as well. But there's a blessing also in fighting for your lives when, according to this text of the scripture, fight for your lives. Then came there unto him a company of Assideans, who were mighty men of Israel, okay? Even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also, all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. Okay, they're going to refresh each other. They're encouraging each other. They're building up each other. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathens for succour. Okay? So they battling now. They're not going to just let these heathens take them out. Verse 45. You're just now tuning in. First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 45 now. Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. Okay, now they get ready to undo what this wicked king Antiochus pulled up and built altars. Mattathias say this stuff coming down. Let's read it again, verse 45. Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars, and what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly, you know, like with courage, Salakia, with courage, valiantly. Yeah, valiantly. That's with courage, with boldness. Verse 47. They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hands. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of the kings. Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. Like, no sinner gonna triumph. Can you feel the power of our nation? The power of the Spirit of the Most High Yahweh giving our nation to subdue the enemy that's trying to take us out and take us under and subdue us? He gave them power. Let's read verse 48 again. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of the kings. Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. They didn't let the sinner triumph and rule over them. Now, when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now have pride and rebuke gotten strength. and the time of destruction and wrath of indignation. Let's read it again. Now the time drew near that Mattathias should die. And he said to his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength. Okay? And the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Verse 50. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the laws, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. For the covenant of the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Give your lives, he's saying. The covenant that the Most High established with our forefathers. Verse 51, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. Like your name, you'll be buried with your fathers. When the Bible talks about, and they were buried with their fathers, it gives understanding that they were buried with their fathers because they did the righteous thing. Verse 52. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? See, they recall in the scriptures in Genesis. Verse 53. Joseph in the time of his distress kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt. Phinehas, our father, in the being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. And Yahushua, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel. Caleb for bearing, well, this is Yehus. It's not talking about Yahushua, our Lord, because he was not at this time. So Salakia, verse 55. Jesus. You know, they say Jesus in English, but Jesus in the other pronunciation of Jesus, okay? Verse 56, Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received the heritage of the land. David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elias, see, he's running down the bravery and the valiant man that had victory, okay? Had victory. Let's read it again. Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven. Ananias, Zacharias, and Mishael, by believing, were saved out of the flame. Okay? Daniel, for his innocency, you know, I don't know, this tongue-tied, here we go again. Basically, being innocent, was delivered from the mouth of the lions. And thus consider you throughout all ages, that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. Now, that's not an encouraging word for us to press on. None that put their trust in the Most High shall be overcome. We shall not be overcome by wicked. We cannot be overcome by wickedness and evil and demons. We shall not be overcome. Okay? We go a little further here. Fear not then the words of sinful man. Don't fear the threats and the words of nasty, sinful, evil, wicked men. Okay? For his glory shall be dung and worms, like nothing. Verse 63, today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is turned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. This is what the Most High feel about the sinful, evil, wicked man. And Mattathias is running it down to his sons to give them his last words, to let them know, you don't have to fear nobody but the Lord. And with this type of encouragement, we're going to see Judas Maccabees as we're going to come on another broadcast part 2. This is the encouragement he gave him, and this is how he overcame and reconquered and cleansed the temple and rededicated the temple that we have the Feast of Dedication. Something to celebrate. Keep reading. A little bit more here. Verse 64. Wherefore, ye my sons, be violent, and show yourself men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear to him always, and he shall be a father unto you. As for Judas Maccabees, he hath been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people. Take you also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people. See, he's giving these last words to them to let them know what to do. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandment of the law. I mean, live right, be truthful, be holy. So he blessed them and was gathered to his fathers, and he died in the 160th year. And his sons buried him in the sepulchre, and his fathers at Mount Moden, and all Israel made a great lamentation for him. And there we have it. And there we have it for right now. And this is why we have the Feast of Dedication. We're going to stop right there. And we're going to come back. And we're going to do a part 2. Because, see, this is giving us the understanding why we are celebrating the Feast of Dedication. The Feast of Lights. The Feast of Lights that's shining bright. That our Hebrew Israelite ancestors fought for us. Fought for the Most High. Fought to keep the temple sanctified, cleansed, and holy. Because we are separate people from the world. We got to get that back in our souls. You know, our ancestors had deep, rich roots that they that's all they knew was the Spirit of the Lord upon them to live only one way. They didn't mingle with the other heathens' religion and the other heathens' whatever thought or ideas of what they thought and want to do, like Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, and all these other heathen holidays. They didn't do any of that. We were our own. We had our own heritage. You know, just like all these other heathens and Hindu and all these other heathens and different denominations of what they do. That's what they do in their own culture. What they do in their own culture. Chinese people do in their own cultures. Moab, Ammonites, whatever. They do it. And you can't come and tell them what they're not going to do. They do it routinely every year. Faithfully every year they do what they do to honor whatever statue or whatever they're doing. And this is how our ancestors was, how they were in the Apocrypha and throughout history in the biblical times of knowing who we are. And these heathen nation has tried to desecrate the sanctuary physically and for us now as a person. We're the sanctuary of the Lord. They've always tried to desecrate the holy thing and the holy places and the holy people of the Most High. So we got to stand up. Mattathias left his sons a good word for them to fight for their lives. Don't give up. Don't lay down your lives like the other brethren and the other wives and children did when they, Antiochus came up against them. Don't just lay down your lives. Antiochus. Some people, Antiochus, Antiochus, it's just different pronunciation. But they laid down their lives when they came up against them. And then some people pronounce it Antiochus, so you got different pronunciation. But the main point is, we got to stand up and fight spiritually. And be it come physically, whatever the Most High says at that moment. And that means when somebody is trying to get you to profane your God, profane our God, Yahweh, profane ourselves with the unholy things, taking part in their evil, bloody rituals. Because America is a land that's defiled with blood. So everything they do is about fun, and it's just the land is defiled with blood. And the blood The land can't be cleansed of the blood thereof, except by the blood of him that sheddeth it. So you can't have no type of dealings in the land of America in serving their rituals, their religion, and any of that. That's why it's good that we know we came out of Christianity, that we're not a part of that. You can't be a part of the same or serve the same God as your enemy does that believe in shedding innocent blood. You can't do that. We can't do that. Because even in our nation, David didn't get to build a kingdom because he had blood on his hands, shed innocent blood, Uriah's innocent blood, okay? So our nation, we don't even can't be blessed to take part in anything if we shed innocent blood. So you know he's not going to allow us to partake in somebody else heathens rituals or anything that has shed innocent blood. The Most High don't want us to have anything to do with them. So we got to celebrate the Feast of Dedication with joyful lights and joyful gladness of heart and wine, and just blessing the Lord that, you know, the temple is being rededicated really because we're waking up to who we are as Hebrew Israelites. We're celebrating the fact that now we know, and the Most High, our God, Yahweh, is drawing us closer back to him to understand who we are, to serve him more in spirit and in truth, to bring us back to the law, statutes, and commandments so that we can live to know that we are special people unto him. More and more like who we really are. Like that is the most blessed feeling in the world. To know who we are. To know that we're daughters of Zion. To serving the Lord. You know, to call our husbands Lord and King. You know, Christianity ain't never tell us to do that. We know to honor them. But it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. Getting back, you know, and our husbands treating us like princesses. Like we should be treated. We're getting back. And not trying to take away from us, from our gifts or who we are. You know, we had strong Israelite women in the scriptures, you know, in the Apocrypha. We name all out of them all the time. Judith and Deborah, you know, Esther, courageous. So we walk in our calling and we honor our husbands, you know, and we do the things that the Most High tell us to do as women and serve and teach the younger women. We does those things in our children. And we get out there, you know, we like the proverbial woman, Proverb 31 woman, we get out there, we know how to make it. We have our own business. We know how to get out there and make it work, make it happen to help our homes and build up our homes. And the men, our Hebrew Israelite men, you know, giving us the respect and the honor as a weaker vessel. And taking care of their homes as well and guarding their homes and being strong. So we're getting back. We're getting back. We're getting back. We're not African Americans. We're not black people. We're getting back. We're not what they call us. We're not Jamaicans. You know, we're not Haitians. You know, we have the Levitical priesthood. We have, you know, Gad. You know, we have Levi, Benjamin, all of the 12 tribes. That's who we are as a people. And that's what we're going to come together for the Feast of Dedication. Hallelujah. To rededicate and commemorate how our ancestors fought to cleanse it. Cleanse the temple. Keep the laws and statutes of the Most High. The holy things. The menorah. Keep the menorah burning bright. The light. Keep it lit. Keep it lit. Keep it lit. Keep that menorah lit. Keep it lit. Keep it lit. The Most High say, if I, even I, Yahushua, said to, if I, even I, be lifted up from above the earth, I will draw all men unto me. So he's drawing them unto him to let them know who he is and who's his people. So we rejoice today on this Shabbat. It's been wonderful. I'm coming back with a part 2. Many of our Hebrew Israelites nations are starting the Shabbat on the 17th all the way to the 24th. It ends on the 25th, of course. It ends. Like, don't do anything on the 25th for nothing about anything got to do with no heathen holiday, Christmas. No. But we gonna celebrate these 8 days. Some already have taken and done their 8 days, and there are other Hebrew Israelites in our nation as we get back to, doing the best we can in commemorating these high holy feast days. Some of them, of course, some of us are starting on the 17th, and we're putting our messages out there now, because I tell you, it's going to be a high holy day that we're going to have a high holy celebration. So the Most High bless you all out there and keep you, and may the joy of the Lord be your strength. Go on in the name of the Lord and enjoy your day. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.